One of the things my campaign manager always said is you can't win as a Republican light, so just be yourself. And I've always been a progressive. I've always believed in progressive values, and that was our strongest message, whether it be about Medicaid expansion. In my case, ending gerrymandering was our big message as well. And, of course, protecting the rights of those who couldn't defend themselves.
Hey, we're here at a candidate training put on by the Progressive Change Campaign Committee. It's the biggest one that they've ever done. We're at a huge hotel here in Washington, at least 450 candidates from across the country. One of them didn't have to travel very far. Donté Tanner is joining us here. There were two dramatic House races in Virginia last year. One of them came down to a coin toss, and the other one was Donté's, which was on the cusp of being a massive upset up on election night, and then as more votes come in, the flip, and we're going to talk about that seesawing. So first of all, tell us, what is it like, two things, to go into a race where you're expected to lose by 20 points or more, come out on top as the votes are coming in, and then ultimately lose by 99 votes. What is that emotional roller coaster like?
It's about how you would expect. We were on cloud nine. We were really celebrating with my family, my campaign staff, and all the friends and family who helped us.
What was the party like? When you went into election night, were you like, I think I can win this sucker?
Yes. Honestly, every candidate, you should have that same mentality when you get into a race, and we thought that we could upset Tim Hugo in that race. So when we got there, the election night, we wanted to make sure it was close hold with our family and our friends and our campaign staff. And once the results came in that night, we were all celebrating. We were very happy.
And this is a guy who'd been in office 16 years or so? What kind of Republican was he?
He's one of the Republicans that pretends to be a moderate, but when you look at his voting record, he is very hard right.
All right, so you go into election night. As votes are all counted, what's the total at that point?
Also, for us, we had about 15,100 votes to 15,000, almost 100 votes. So it was pretty even, 68 votes off. So when we actually got the numbers and they came in, we absolutely believed that we had just pulled an upset, and it was a fantastic feeling. And we set out to prove that you can challenge any seat everywhere and have a chance to win.
Was it absentees that came in? What was the first moment where you slipped underneath him?
So actually, it didn't happen until the next day during the canvass. They realized there was a human error at two of the precincts. So one of them, they had a transcribing error of 100 votes. So we lost 100 votes right there. And another one, they had an Excel spreadsheet error. That's the point of the canvass. The system worked. It corrected itself. So there was no foul play there. But at the same time, when we looked at it, it was a emotional roller coaster, to say the least. And the first thing we thought of was, what can we do better next time? Because we are surely going to run again.
And they did a recount, right?
They did a recount, yes. It worked as it should. Both sides were very cordial and friendly about it. We had no real disagreements, and the ballots were all counted correctly.
And so as a result of this, Republicans ended up holding on to the House, this and the coin toss. But the politics ended up mattering anyway, right? The Medicaid looks to be moving forward.
Absolutely, and we talked to Senator Barker last night, and it's going to pass on the Senate side as well. When we start looking at all the issues that Republicans were fighting against for the last however many years, this year many Republicans changed, and it passed the House with over 60 votes, and there's still only 49 Democrats. So you know that the message was heard by everybody who's in elected office, and that's the importance of our races, is to make sure that when you challenge them, you're challenging their message as well and their votes, and you can make changes that way as well.
And I think one thing that some people don't understand about politics is that, yes, winning is better than losing, and those numbers matter, but it is a dynamic process, and you can affect policy even by losing sometimes or by running a tough race. Cynthia Nixon, who's running a primary against Andrew Cuomo in New York, she gets in the race. She might not end up winning, but already these independent Democrats who've been caucusing with Republicans flipped and have joined come back to the Democratic fold. So as you've seen the Medicaid debate unfold, and people and hundreds of thousands could end up getting coverage, do you think back to your campaign and think, like, I was part of that?
Absolutely, and everybody who ran last year, we took 15 seats in one election, and everybody who ran, and that is a new candidate, their primary message was Medicaid expansion, and the voters heard that, and they agreed with that as well. We knocked on over 100,000 doors in my campaign, and almost everybody said first issue was Medicaid expansion. We need to have better access to health care, and the politicians heard that. So even if you don't win, if you stand up, you fight for your message, you fight for what matters to you, you can still make a difference, and they will hear you, because again, they're going to listen to the people. They're going to listen to their voters as well.
Speaking of winning, are you back in?
I'm back in. We're getting ready for 19. That's why we're here at this training this week, just to make sure that what we did wrong last time we can correct, get some different pointers, different tips, build a network with other people who are going to run, and see if we can share ideas together.
What did you do wrong? Like now, as you look back in the race, and it's hard because in a race that you lose by 99 votes, any tiny little thing could swing it. But on the other hand, so much of it is chance as well. So when you have gone back and criticized your race, what are the things that you would have done differently?
The number one factor I looked at my race is that I got into the race late. I didn't have an intention of running last year. I had a newborn baby in July, so my thought was with parenthood and making sure I can be the best father and best husband. But when I realized that no one was stepping up to challenge Tim Hugo, I got into the race right around February, March, which by that point in time in a race, it's really late. And so the earlier you get started, the better you can do from a fundraising perspective, from a grassroots perspective. All those things matter because time is the one thing you can't get back. So when I look back at my race, this year I'm starting early, making sure that I come to trainings, build a network, start fundraising, doing all of those things that we can do right now because we have 2 years till just under 2 years till next election, and we have time. And I want to make sure that that's not the reason.
Did you have help, or were you mostly on your own in the last races? You got in so late, and he'd been ensconced, or he has been ensconced for so long. I would assume that the Democratic bigwigs are like, well, this is cute that you want to run, but good luck. We're not helping.
So at the beginning, I got a lot of comments that said, he's a great candidate, but Tim Hugo's been there for so long. But as we put in the work, as we raised the money, as we showed them that we were here and we were serious, the party really came around. They supported us by helping us with field organizers. They actually did some fundraisers for me as well. A lot of the sitting delegates were fantastic mentors, and they said, you know what, we actually can win this thing. When our first poll numbers came out and showed that the race was a lot closer than people believed, even right up until Election Day, people thought, wow, actually, we can win this race, and they started taking that seriously as well as other races around the state. So it was one of those things where people, especially when you're talking about the caucus, they have limited resources. That's one thing to keep in mind. So they can't help every candidate they want to help out. But if you do the work, if you put in the time, if you show them that you're as committed as they are, they will come and help you.
Have you been able to grow in a small donor email list, or like are there indivisibles and other organizations in Centerville that have popped up since then? And if you'd had more time, are there places that you weren't able to go to? Like what will the extra time allow you to do?
So honestly, it was different parts of the county. Different parts of my county, actually, my district covers both Prince William County and Fairfax County. So because we were, again, locked for time, we spent a lot of time where the population base was, and we didn't spend as much time as we would like to out in Prince William County. So what I've been doing since then, of course, is getting out involved with the Prince William groups, Indivisible Nova West, Indivisible Herndon Reston, a lot of the indivisible groups out there. The grassroots organizations have been the difference in all these campaigns. So when you look at the 15 that we won, you can almost to every one of them point and say these grassroots organizations made the difference there. So I've been spending a lot of time getting to know them more, working with them, and they were phenomenal in my last race, and they're even more fired up for this next one.
When you have looked at the kind of precinct by precinct breakdown, because I assume you've gone over it, I would if I were you. Do you notice like, oh, I could have picked off another 50 votes here, another 50 votes there, another 50, if I'd had time to get out to a particular area?
Honestly, yes and no. I mean, when you start looking at that from the Monday morning quarterback position, you can always look and say, oh, I could have done so much better in this precinct. But for us, our win number couldn't factor in the massive turnout we had in this race. There were over 30,000 people who voted in our district this year. In the last few races, there were only 15. So we had almost double the turnout and double the votes of previous elections. So we couldn't predict that one. So we absolutely crushed our win number. But it still wasn't enough to get you across the finish line. So from our perspective, what we're looking at as it's an opportunity. You know, maybe we have undecided voters that we had knocked on their door before. So right now we're doing this exercise where we're going through, and every person who's unidentified, we're going to knock on their door now and just ask them some questions. What are some of the issues that you care about? Because most people believe they're with one party or the other, but honestly, we're all about the issues, and we're all about the progressive issues that we care about. And most people will find that they're more progressive than they realize.
What's the issue you lead with if somebody says, why are you running? Is there an issue you lead with, or is it more kind of just values, like I'm a progressive, or is there like one thing, like we need to do X?
Honestly, so when I talk to a person on door or voters, I start off with my value, which is service before self. I served in the Air Force myself, and as in part of the Air Force, we always believed our core values were integrity first, service before self, and excellence in all we do. And that's what I really hold dear. So I lead with that and just kind of show that we're coming from a common place. Right after that, I say that I care about Medicaid expansion. I care about providing access to health care. I care about ending gerrymandering, but most importantly, I care about what you think. And spend more time listening. You know, most people, they were surprised that a candidate showed up at their door because they hadn't had that experience for the last 16 years. I wanted to come and personally talk to them and find out what they care about. And lately, we just went knocking on doors, and on Saturday, we found that most voters really care about the economy as well. The new tax bill is going to hurt them, and they realize that. So most people, they just want to be able to take care of their family, spend more time with their family. So we focus on local issues, focus on transportation. How do we alleviate traffic so you can get home sooner? If you're talking about what you lose sleep over, they lose sleep over the economy and rising cost of healthcare. So these are the things that you pay attention to, and you make sure that your platform is reflective of what the voters care about, and that you're aligned. And that's how you make sure you're the best candidate as well.
Donté Tanner, thanks so much for joining us.
Thank you for your time today.
Best of luck in the race. Awesome. We're going to follow it.
Thank you.